Hey everyone, it's Maureen. I wanted to kind of make a new video showing the sewing machine, but in the Treadle table. Let me see if I can give you a better view here. All right, there we go. So this is where it's fully opened. We have two drawers on either side. It's a dark laminate wood. It kind of reminds me of either cherry or oak laminate, but they stained it. Most of these tables have a dark finish. Some of them, if they're the more expensive tables, they have a hardwood instead of a veneered surface to them. I figure that this is probably more your low cost to medium range one because you have the drawers and you have the locks. And then you have ones that are hardwood that have more drawers because you can have 3 drawers on either side. And then the arrangements can be a little bit different depending on the age of the table. So my dust cover is still coming into use because with the table open, I need to still cover it. And I have a key, which is really helpful because there's locks here and then in the middle of the two either sides. And those lock both top and bottom drawers. So I mean, this is locked currently. Get the key. It's a flathead key with a little shoulder to it. I was told that you could technically use a screwdriver for this, but in my experience, when it comes to locks and keys, you get the key because you don't want to be jerry-rigging your table, ruining the locks. So when it's locked, it's flat like this. And then you turn it. The center drawer has 3 different spots. You could easily put bobbins and spools in here. I think that's why they did that, or a small pair of snips, which would be great for the threads. And then they are just little brass locks with your typical, hold on here. I want to see if I can show you this without closing the drawer. Let's try it again. Now, since we're in the open, see it pops right through. That turns right up. If you have a treadle table and you want to use the locks in it, what I did is I put a little bit of the machine oil right down there in each of the locks. In here, in the drawer, the mechanism is underneath the drawer. So yet again, I put some machine oil down there just to give it a little bit of something. The challenge with a lot of the tables is situations like this where you're seeing the metal begin to rust. So I have some major refurbishing still on this table, and I've only sort of scratched the surface with it at this point. There was a 1910 Singer Model 66 in here, so I have a whole old series of needles, like all the needles are in here with the threader. So this is why I love vintage sewing items. You get the old advertisements along with the items themselves if they're still in the original boxes. They had a blade cutter, like an old style blade cutter still on the end, some needles. There's pieces of, this looks like a needle book of some form with no needles in it. We will have to change that. And then other kinds of tools came in with the table when I bought it. And here for the 1910, this is the bobbin winder. And this is what old rubber looks like. It really kind of gets that funky color and starts cracking. I'll have to replace this portion. I have it replaced on my current machine, which is a 1923 Singer. And then we have several other bobbins as well as a ruffler foot This one's in not so great shape as compared to the other ones I have. These have a little bit of surface rust and dirt, mostly dirt. And I've seen machines in much worse condition than what we're looking at, or at least at the 1910. Ooh, this one's still locked. So as you can tell, you can really pull on the table and even nearly move it. Here, this is what the hand crank for the Singer is. This was originally on my 1923 machine here. And now I'll be able to use this on the 1910 because I will put it in my other table over here. And I have extra material to make another dust cover like that. So I'm glad I bought extra material. I wasn't planning on getting a second machine, but hey, that happens. So I'm very, very pleased that my replacement key fits and works so smoothly in the locks. But oil is your friend. Oil except here. You're gonna see a few spots that have some rust that I have to work out yet, but for the most part, when I cleaned this, there's just a lot of dirt, and sometimes that will throw you off. But there's some parts where it'll need a little bit of paint, the rust taken out, some paint. But really, it fared real well. A lot of these tables are from the 1910s. Some of them are older depending on the machine. So, hey, take a deal while you can. I love the Singer emblem. So I was so pleased when I found this table. I got this for $45, folks, and that came with the machine for $45. Now, it wasn't this machine, but it's the same model. This is my 1923 Singer that I had in the other table. And this is what the setup looks like. Now I don't have the hand crank on the side anymore like I did in my previous video. This is a leather strap, kind of like, not quite rawhide, but darn close. And underneath this is our bobbin winder, and that's the new flange I was telling you about. They're supposed to look like that. Underneath here, this is where it allows it to turn, and it actually will even move the foot. So I'm going to scooch in here so you're going to hear my chair, and I'm going to show you guys. Now, the machines are not meant to do what we modernly know. When you start a seam, what we're taught is to backstitch a stitch or two and then proceed forward. The old machines don't normally allow you to do a backstitch without you tangling your thread, so you're going to be doing a lot of straight seaming, or at least this is what I've been told. Before I string up my machine, I haven't put any thread in it, top or bottom. There is nothing in here. There's a bobbin in here, but it's empty. Actually, no, it's not empty. Let's take the bobbin out. But it's not strung up as far as that goes. I'm going to put this in here. Actually, I think I will do this and fish all these bobbins out. There's only a couple of them. There wasn't many. Here's another one. Steel wool is your friend with a lot of these metal parts. A little bit of steel wool and oil, it goes a long way. I think some of these are a little rusty. And what I plan on doing is cleaning them up and then putting them in the basket like I have the other ones, which you can see in my previous video. I show you what the sewing basket is like. Close my drawer here, and I'm going to scooch a little bit more forward. This kind of reminds me of driving a car. I taught myself how to drive stick. I have a 2005 Ford Mustang that is a 5-speed, And I noticed that treadling in its own way is almost, except without the shifter, almost reminds me of driving a car. And all of the older cars tend to be stick shift anyway. So I turned this towards me. And that's what also can happen. The belt can come out if you're going the wrong direction. Excuse me, folks, as I try to fix this. The sliding happens. That's not unusual. Oops, I'm caught on the little spring. It's supposed to be snug, but you're not supposed to stretch the band. There we go. This is kind of like a little brake, but depending on how it is moved, it can pop this out of the track. Do not oil the track, because the leather will absorb the oil and then you'll have even more slippage than what you're seeing happen with me. What I've noticed is if I put 1 foot in front and 1 foot in back, it seems to help a little bit. At least this helps me. Though the treadle plate is curved a little bit. And there are several oiling points you have to kind of deal with, like the one right here and going up at the top in the center of the wheel. And then this was the one that was squeaking right there. So there's several oiling points that you're going to be putting machine oil on to prevent squeaking and other such issues. Sometimes getting your start is the tricky bit. I'm going at a reasonable speed here, but I wanted to show you guys the wonderful sound. Steady as she goes. You can notice the little feed dog is working along with the needle up and down. Now I can technically do this. Ooh, we came undone again. Oh. The brake engaged itself, oddly enough. That's interesting. Not necessarily good, but interesting. Oh, came out again. So, as you can tell, there's a certain amount of noises that happen as you're moving along. And as you can tell, I also don't have a lot of practice with this. One of the things that I probably should be doing is using my hand to get it started. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's the trick. Use your hand to get it started and then maintain the movement on your treadle pedal. Now, I still have a lot of tension I need to work out yet. Interesting. I had the presser foot up and you had a lot less clicking noise. But as soon as I put the presser foot down, you have a larger noise. This is going to electrified machines to running a antique Singer or any antique treadle machine, to be honest. And there's a lot to learn about each individual brand, how they operate, and they're going to be designed a little bit differently. There will sort of be, let me just stop so I don't have to talk over the treadling. Although, oops, sorry. Although there's going to be this generalized shape, so to speak. You're going to always have this sort of shape where it arcs over your work. And then there'll be a stringing pattern, because every machine is going to have its own stringing pattern of how you thread up the machine and then how you sew with the machine. I've not been using my tripod here to film very much, but I just wanted to kind of show you how that goes. Although I have a nice wide table here, I could certainly put my tripod over so you guys can watch me sew when I get around to starting one of my Tudor kirtles here. This treadle table does have storage, so to speak. This actually stores the table itself on the inside. And this can flip down in. There's set screws that would allow you to adhere the machine to the pins, and it can flip down, and you can take this flat portion over here and flip it over top to keep dust off of it. Because I want to keep mine hooked up with the belt and everything, that's why I opted for a cloth dust cover, just to keep dust off the immediate machine and go from there. If I wanted to, I would actually, if I didn't want any dust on the table at all, I would I have an old quilt, I would actually put that over top all the entire assembly. It's a queen size quilt, so it's a good length. And I would flip that up and over top. Talking to the fellow from my local sewing center that handles antique Singers and other antique machines as well, not just Singers, but other ones as well. He mentions that many of the times for transport, because you're not always going to have the machine's original carrying case. Some people are great at keeping their items organized and together, but many people do not. I would love to have one of the bent wood Singer cases with the key. It's going to be an investment I'm going to make in the future, but it's going to cost me probably $100 to $200 to get the top and the bottom, because I don't have any of the Singer cases top or bottom. That's why when I had originally got my mother's sewing table over there, I wanted to get a machine to sit in it, and luckily I was able to procure this one, and it works great in the machine with the hand crank. But now that I have two, the best part is I can put the other one in that table over there, put a dust cover over it, and we're going to be right as rain. So my mom's table will still get wonderful use. Even though it's meant for an electrified machine, there's a little presser foot on the inside bottom edge of that table where you use your knee to actually control that presser foot. It's interesting how things change, but they don't always really change that much. So I apologize for the previous shaky cam here, but I figured you'd enjoy the wee discovery that I've made. Speaking of the wood, now that I think about it, when I had talked about laminate, this would be considered veneered wood. This would be very thin pieces of oak, because this is open here, and I've had to actually take glue it down and then clamp it, because there was the veneer, or the veneer top and bottom was trying to come off. Like, this is what I'm talking about. See how loose that is? I'm still going to have to add some glue and do some clamping along here yet. This is going to be a process that's going to take quite some time, as you can imagine. But they basically used another wood underneath this and then put oak over top. And if this is exposed to moisture over a long period of time, there's a little bit there that'll have to be done too. What happens is the wood, even though it's glued down, starts peeling up. And the glue only lasts so long as well. These are made out of, the drawers are made out of the solid wood. And these edges, they're all made out of solid wood too. Sometimes they split, so I mean, you do have to be careful. I noticed I'm missing sort of one of these ends on the back of one of the sides here, so I'll have to repair that too. But for the most part, this table was in pretty good shape. Sometimes the wood will peel off completely and you'll have a spot where there's none at all. So there wasn't too many of those. That's what you want to watch out for with this style of table. Like there's one there. There's only just the two spots that had problems. And I glued this down just to kind of preserve it. But I feel pretty fortunate that for the most part I'm going to have this over it. There's chunks that sort of, something must have fallen at some point out of it. But I'm going to just try to fill those in just a little bit to protect them. There is my wonderful furnace. There's another spot here that had come up. But that's what happens with veneered wood. You get this wrinkle. You can really see it. See how loose that becomes? That's what I'm combating with this. Now, my basement is not damp. Thank goodness. It's a basement that doesn't have an outside entrance. If it did, we would be in trouble because there'd be more dampness down here. So I can store my fabric and I can store my machines, and the dampness is very, very minimal. And I feel very blessed. Found the right place to live, let's put it that way, as far as the right house. So I've got kind of the dark woodish chair with the dark wood table, and then I have the light woodish chair with the light wood table. Matchy matchy. So I just wanted to show you this wonderful Treadle table, kind of the features of it, as well as some problems that you can deal with when finding one or shopping for one. For me, I have what I was mentioning, a 5-speed sports car, and I brought this table home in that car, which you're probably thinking to yourself, man, this chick is crazy. I've been called worse things, let's put it that way. But what I did, and I'm kind of a mechanical person, so for me this is something I did, but if you're not comfortable doing so, find a friend with a truck. But basically, underneath the table, where the legs go up, there's a little screw on each corner, 4 screws. I took those out, took the table off, put that in my back seat, took the metal portion, put that in my trunk, and then strapped it down so nothing moved, and then put the original machine that was in this table in my driver's side passenger seat, and I was on my way. Luckily, I only had less than a mile from home that I had to drive this table home. Unloaded everything safely. And if you are going to be putting this on carpet or on hardwood, I would suggest getting these little caster protectors, because on a cement floor these casters aren't going to hold up really well, and moving the table around, it's going to be bad for the cement, it's going to be bad for the table. So I put these casters underneath to help a bit. You could even pad these with a little bit of felt on the inside of them if you wanted to provide a little extra cushioning. that's how I got it home in a Mustang. And believe it or not, I moved in that car, so I brought, let's see, that very big spinning wheel back there. Say hello to Star, she's over there. There's a little spinning wheel in front, a loom. I brought this home later on. I brought all of the shelves and the sewing table, and Star's climbing on things. So you can pack a lot in a sports car if you know how to play Tetris. There is always that option. But I appreciate you watching. If you're interested in more vintage sewing, historical sewing, book reviews, you can subscribe to my channel. I try to upload at least twice a month or so. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments or send me a message. More than happy to answer any questions as I come across it. Thanks for watching. Bye.